54 years ago, in 1961, on May 14th, the first Freedom Ride left Washington, D.C. and headed to New Orleans through the racially segregated South.
The Congress of Racial Equality sponsored the first Freedom Ride in 1961, when they sent a group of civil rights activists into the racially segregated southern United States. The activists were challenging the non-enforcement of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Morgan v. Virginia and Boynton v. Virginia. The Supreme Court had ruled that segregated public buses were unconstitutional. Southern states ignored this ruling.
We'll make sure that people traveling in interstate commerce and traveling across our highways are not molested.
When part of the group reached Anniston, Alabama, their bus was firebombed and they were severely beaten. A white mob organized by the KKK was responsible for the attack.
Maybe it takes something like this for the federal government to see that Alabama is not going to place any limit upon itself. It must be imposed from without.
This public act of civil disobedience forced the national government to get involved, forcing the South to submit to racial integration.
We'll take hitting, we'll take beating. We're willing to accept death. But we're going to keep coming until we can ride from anywhere in the South to any place else in the South.
On November 14, 2015, the first Freedom Ride in the Netherlands left Amsterdam and headed to Meppel. Anti-racism activists went to Meppel to challenge displays of racial discrimination within the Dutch holiday Sinterklaas.
Grassroots organization Out Zwarte Piet gathered with approximately 150 concerned Dutch citizens in Amsterdam to head to the National Sinterklaas Parade in Meppel, the Netherlands. The crowd was diverse. One common goal that was shared was that Black Pete is racist.
Allereerst welkom, fijn dat jullie allemaal hier zijn om vandaag hopelijk een legendarische, historische dag te maken voor de strijd tegen Zwarte Piet en racisme. Ja, best wij. Jullie kunnen rollen naar de bus.
After everyone was on board, it was time to move out. With a fourth bus leaving out of Rotterdam, messages on social media stated that the buses would be blocked from entering Meppel. The organization had also received threats. Would people go to the same extreme measures as in Anniston? Not to take any risks, Out Zwarte Piet arranged for a police escort. It wasn't too much longer until demonstrators reached Meppel safely.
Oké, dames en heren. We gaan lopen naar de locatie waar we zullen gaan staan. Denk aan onze principes van vreedzaam protest. Denk aan onze principes die we net hebben besproken. En ik heb er alle vertrouwen in, want ik weet zeker dat als het aan ons ligt, wordt het een hele fijne, vreedzame dag. Waarin ieder van ons zijn of haar mening op een positieve manier kan uiten. Yes. Is goed, we gaan nu lopen.
No more blackface! No more blackface!
It didn't take a long time for the group to receive unwanted attention.
No more blackface!
This man in the gray jacket begins yelling and pushing demonstrators, reminiscent to the verbal abuses black and white activists were exposed to during the civil rights movement.
Blackface! No more blackface! No more blackface! No more!
The man is eventually approached by police.
No more blackface!
During the civil rights movement, some whites felt obligated to join the fight for equality. This man explains the backlash he received from out of the white community.
Being thrown in the situation of the crisis I had to act, and I had no other choice than to respond as I did. And then the momentum began to build from the crowd, and they said, hit the nigger lover, and I suddenly felt this tremendous humiliation. Suddenly I had crossed into another race. I had moved into a different world. I was a Negro feeling all of the rejection and humiliation he must have to go through every time he's rejected.
No more blackface! No more blackface!
Demonstrators were given permission by the mayor of Meppel to demonstrate at a designated area along the route of the parade. Taunting continued. Security was quick to act. The hecklers weren't alone. But after the taunting stopped, racially derogatory statements began.
is ook een Zwarte Piet. Spreek jezelf tegen, no more blackface. Ga je vlak sminken dan.
Santa Claus's steamboat, filled with blackface helpers, was preparing to dock. But two of the Piets had arrived early.
Hij begon, hè? Laat zitten, laat maar hier. Maak je toch andere dingen in het leven, maar niet om de kleine dingen.
During sit-ins, activists were challenging the social order and were also provoked by agitators, which oftentimes resulted in violence. During these provocations, the demonstrators held on to their principles of nonviolence.
Totaal geen racisme daar, man. Laat hem ook zo houden dan. Het is echt een hele dikke onzin wat hier aan deze kant rechts staat.
Omdraaien, rug toekeren, rug toekeren, rug toekeren, rug omkeren.
Instead, Dutch rapper Insano handed out flowers.
Oh, doe je. Hey, dank je, jongen. Ja, ik weet niet wat je mee moet, maar... jongens, ik wil... Ja, alsjeblieft, hoor.
Another crowd pleaser was the new and improved Santa Claus, without any blackface helpers. The new Santa Claus had held his arrival a day earlier in Amsterdam.
De intocht was een groot succes. Het leek alsof het weer ons tegen zou zitten, maar wij lieten ons niet weerhouden. We zijn doorgegaan en uiteindelijk kwam de zon weer achter de wolken tevoorschijn. En er waren kinderen die ons hebben opgewacht. En mijn paard Roderick was er. En dus ja, ik ben heel blij dat ik hier ben aangekomen en het is allemaal perfect gegaan.
The traditional Santa Claus was docked and parading down the street with his blackface army. Not everybody was happy to see the saint.
Weg met Zwarte Piet! Weg met Zwarte Piet! Weg met Zwarte Piet!
Especially not his blackface servants, Zwarte Piet.
Weg met Zwarte Piet! Weg met Zwarte Piet! No more blackface! 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 No more.
A large majority of the Dutch don't see Zwarte Piet as racist. It is seen as cultural heritage.
Just like the Deep South with Jim Crow, it seems like some Dutch don't want to let go of their culture of blackfacing. This is Kevin Roberson in Utrecht, the Netherlands, for the Roberson Report.